Hey everyone, welcome to the Dad Level Podcast. This is going to be episode 25. We're going to be discussing why we collect. This can range from video games to toys to musical instruments, electronics, stuff like that. We hope you enjoy. So, guys, what got y'all into collecting?
Okay, I can start that.
Yeah.
Basically, it's just when you find something something that strikes a chord with you. Like for me, early on, I would find, comic books. You find a title, you find a character that you like, and all of a sudden, hey, I want more. And then it just, as you get older, the stuff like that, it'll jump from games. In my case, music. You start, well, I know that this does this other one does something similar, but they sound different and they look different and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, boom, you got a collection going. That's what it was for me, to put it basic, I guess.
David?
I mean, it was really a combination of things, right? It's like just it's just wanting to be entertained, and kind of like what Colin was just saying, right? Finding that thing that you just gravitate to and it entertains you, right? And you just kind of want to go out there and find more and more of it. And then sometimes it's kind of, you stumble into something just out of what's the word? What's this phrase for it? Something is the mother of invention.
Necessity.
There we go. Is the mother of invention. It's like, for instance, a quick example with board games, right? I got into board games, not even necessarily trying to. It was just kind of go over to friends' houses, and usually it was all about video games. And then, every once in a while you go and somebody would have Risk, or, I know some people play like a lot of Catan. I've never played it, but it was just like you show up somewhere, and sometimes a board game would just be out. You play for a little bit. And then growing up, I played a lot of card games with my family, mainly spades, over at my grandparents' house for the holidays. But one day, me and some friends were just like, hey, we want to try and do D&D. And, you run into all the usual traps of that, right? Where no one wants to DM, no one really understands the rules. You're trying to find a system that works for everybody and all that crap. And it finally just kind of turned into, okay, let me go see if I can find a game that will mimic this. Right. And then you just fall down that rabbit hole of, okay, I found a game that does this. Oh man, that's awesome. Well, is there a game out there that does this other thing that I want to see? Awesome. Yeah, there is. Okay. And you just start stacking games on games. So until you get to the point where somebody comes over and they're like, hey, you want to play a board game? And I open a closet door and I'm like,
select something.
Take your pick.
Choose your poison. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, that was a thing that it wasn't really ever anything that I thought about. It was just kind of a thing that I stumbled into looking for something else. And then it led me into the hobby. And
the gateway, it just kind of like, it was the gateway drug. It was the one that started it and got you in the rest of it. So,
yes.
For me, it's funny because Colin was a big part of reasons why, I started collecting. I mean, my dad, it was like I was shepherded into it, the life.
Oh yeah.
My dad, he would collect Star Wars figures and G.I. Joe just right just before I was born or when I was born. And models, comics. I mean, I was just like bathed in this stuff, baptized in the art of collecting and everything. I didn't even have a chance if I wanted to.
No, you didn't.
And it's funny because like growing up in that time, I remember my times when my mom was still with my dad, but she wasn't that big of an influence, or wasn't there that long enough to really kind of influence me like my dad was, or my friends, or his friends. And it's funny because like I have friends come over and it's like, wow, you have this cool collection of stuff. It's like, I didn't even really know it was a collection. It was just stuff I liked and I didn't want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because eventually you get to the point where it's like, I like this stuff. I don't want to damage it. I'd like to have it later on in life. So,
yeah.
But, really for me, it was, I didn't have a chance to to find it. I mean, I found things, my own things that I enjoyed and liked, but yeah, for me, that's kind of what it was. My dad and his friends, my Uncle Colin, were the ones that helped influence me into that. So I guess the next question would be, are you want to add anything, or?
I'm just noting that we all have snippets of our collection behind us.
Yeah. Yeah, somewhere.
Somewhere back there, yeah.
We all, these are all a taste of what we have.
Yeah, just a small taste, just a
Small taste.
Just to eat.
Because really, this is all just like the kids shows, anime, and like TV shows. I've got 2 other bookshelves in there that's just filled with all the other movies and stuff that I've got that's aside from this. And and it kind of goes to, I probably have I know I have some little tick problem in the back of my mind where it's like, I again, it goes back to I love entertainment and I love stories, and I've always loved those things. And so you hear, it's part of the reason why it frustrates me sometimes when I can't get a hold of something, right? Like one of the things that has always eluded me, and it just, I've given up at this point until I just finally see a complete collection of it laying around somewhere for cheap. But like Full Metal Alchemist, right? It's like I would go out and I'd buy the first 2, like the first season, right, part 1 and 2, and then I would have to wait because I didn't have the money to buy the second half, and then it would go out of print, and I've never been able to find it cheap, again.
Yeah.
It's like I like whenever there's a story out there that I have an interest in, or it sounds intriguing, and I get into it, and I'm like, man, this is really cool. I want to have it, right? I want to have it because then I never know when there's going to be a time that'll come up, and I'm sitting there thinking about it and going like, you know what? That kind of reminds me of that scene in Fight Club. I haven't watched Fight Club in like 5 years. I should go watch that again because that was a really good movie. Or, I was what were we watching the other day? We were watching, I was rewatching The Matrix, right? And seeing Trinity in that movie reminded me that she was in Memento. And I was like, again, Memento.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that movie in forever. I need to go watch Memento. And it's so funny because I've had all these little moments where I have a little discussions with friends about, the digital and physical and all that. And there are times where it's like, what was I looking for? Oh, the Spider-Man movies, getting ready to go see No Way Home, right? And I was like, man, I want to go see the original Spider-Man movies. And I go to Disney Plus and I'm like, where's the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies?
Yeah.
And then it hit me. I was like, oh, because the
Sony.
distribution's owned by Sony.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'm walking upstairs and I'm grabbing my copies and I'm coming back downstairs and here we go. We're off to the races. But it's like, it's that need to, I want the story. And it's like, it goes back to books when I was a kid. It's just a movie now, right? It's like, I want to have that story because I enjoyed it and I never know when I want to come back to it. And if I have that need, I don't want to have to go out and rebuy it. I just want to be able to go and pull it down and re-enjoy, that little piece. So yeah, that was probably way too long, but it's fine.
Yeah. Well, that brings up a funny topic too, but we'll talk about this in another podcast because it's actually a podcast episode technically. But like the expectations of the internet versus like what we really got. You thought like growing up was like, man, with the internet, we're gonna have access to everything. If you want to watch a movie you watched as a kid that you can't remember the name, you'll be able to type it in and find it and go and just start watching it. But no, there's still stuff that's like out of print, not digital, that you can't find at all. And you're like, I can see screenshots right there.
It's right there. So. You suddenly turn into that 5-year-old, but it's right there. Just push it.
What do you mean I can't have it? I want it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, right? Is being an adult, and it drives my wife crazy because, I will just buy myself things, like, because I'm an adult and I have money and I can, oh, hey, there's a thing I like. I can just kind of go and buy it and bring it home, right? So by the time Christmas and all that comes around, it's like I got to think to myself, I'm like, what was that giant list of things that I want that I can't remember what I bought on, and I really need to go trim that down so that someone in my family doesn't go buy me as a present. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I bought this like a month ago. And they're like, why'd you buy it? It's like, because I didn't know you were buying it for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you didn't tell me. That's why you create a giant wish list on Amazon. So it's like, okay, I want this and this. You just take it off the wish list.
Oh, that's another collection I have. I have like 8, Chris. I have 8 lists on Amazon, and each one is packed. That's my collection on digital.
Yeah. It's mine eventually. I'm gonna buy it, but it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what do we let me see. What got we got covered whenever we got into collecting. What do you guys collect?
Audio, video gear, gaming stuff, and music stuff. We should send you pictures of our collection so we could put them up.
Yeah, put them in the video. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All they're gonna see is my house is a mess.
I'm very selective and very I'm no good with a camera, but I can get a perfect shot because I have to hide all the crap that's around
Yeah.
the edge. Oh no, this is nice. This is nice. Don't look up there. Never mind. Black it out.
There.
Trim it real close.
I'm gonna take my camera and I'm gonna angle it just right there, so it just kind of takes out that pile of baskets we haven't put away yet. All right,
Yeah.
click.
Okay, yes, the ceiling's coming down. I'll crop that out.
Here comes
Sometimes at the
Photoshop.
end of it, it's like all those YouTube videos where they do the or some of those YouTube channels where they do the reviews of movies that have very questionable content, like who was it? Cinema Snob, whenever he did Caligula, and there's a scene where he just literally black boxed out the entire screen except like Caligula is about this big in the middle of the screen. He's like, this is all I can show of this scene. Like, yeah, here you go. Just black box out everything. You can't see none of this, but here's my stuff right here.
This right here, that's my jam.
That's right. There you go. Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest vices that I consistently am in are just movies, games, both, video and board. And every once in a while I get into weird situations where I'll just start going out and buying books. Although of all the things that I like about physical, the one thing I am digital about is books. It's just so much, just so nice to be able to just have that thing and have 30 million titles that I'll never actually get around to reading. But if I just feel like reading, here, I just want to read some sci-fi, some military sci-fi. There we go. I want to go read some fantasy. Oh yeah, there we go. And just that I'll at least give them, because it's I guess less takes up less space than all this.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I still have some physical stuff that I like to be able to just sit down with, and because there's a lot to be said for opening up a book or cracking open something that's old. It's got that that nostalgia to it.
Yeah,
but like you said, the digital age, would be able to have a tablet or a reader and go through bajillion books, that is definitely a way, because that's how I shifted all of my, well, I would say 90% of my book collection to digital. And because there was just some of the books got old. We've lost stuff in moves, and we had water damage a few times, which all of us know. So basically I was just like, okay, if I'm going to actually have something that I can enjoy down the road, I'll go digital with these things and keep these specific books up high on shelves in the right storage area where I can just go and grab one and read. Other than that, tablet.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Colin.
I was going to say, I'm really glad that they, over the years, have digitized all the old gaming books. All the TSR stuff is now digital. So I have the complete Gamma World collection. I have it physical copies, but I found out they were all in digital. I'm like, oh, that's a thing. And my son Travis, a couple of years ago, he started getting into D&D, and I'm like, oh, they have all that stuff digital, and all I got to do is get him a tablet, so that he doesn't have to worry about hunting down all these books and stuff like that. Or he can pull them up on his computer and boom, there they are. So that,
that goes back into the whole thing too for us with digital versus physical as well.
Yeah.
There's a really a more deeper conversation we really need to have about that, because the convenience of being able to have, even just the role-playing books digitally, because it's like you can't go find, I want to go get the TSR Marvel superhero role-playing books.
Right.
Where am I going to go? I can go to Nan's and they may have it. I could go to Third Planet. They may have it, but I'm not be able to go to like half price books. I'm gonna have to go online. I'm gonna have to go on eBay, maybe Amazon, and I'm gonna have to pay a price for something that,
Yeah.
I could, of course my dad has most of those books anyway, but still, it's just like, it's the convenience. Plus it doesn't take up the space. A lot of times we just don't have like, a big enough house. I mean, that's funny too, because going into how my dad was back in the day, with us being at the apartment at Brandywood, and the hallway was stacked with long boxes, and it was like my dad's collection of comics, and like most of them he still kept with him. He sold some of them here and there to make money and stuff to make ends meet for us, but he still has all of them, most of them. And it's like, I have 4 long boxes of books and they're in my closet. I haven't picked up a comic in a long time. Most of the time stuff now I pick up as graphic novels whenever I can.
Right.
Most of my stuff I consume now is completely on a movie or YouTube or television series on Blu-ray or DVD.
Right.
So
my long box collection, that was what helped my dad secure the loan for the comic book store that we had, Knights. It was my collection and my stage name that helped secure everything, because he went and said, well, I've got this and this and this, and he said, if it hadn't been for all that stuff you had, we wouldn't have had the comic store, because that became the foundation for it. And for me, that's kind of part of a legacy. That's another thing, is our collections reflect on who we are as kids and then as parents, and my kids didn't get to see a lot of that because they were either real little or hadn't been born yet.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
they for them, it's all anecdotal. So if they see something, if they see a physical copy of something that they know I had or I talked about a lot, and it's out of their range to get, they can go find a digital copy of it, which is, for me, a good thing. If they want to know about that, they can either ask or they can hunt it down for themselves to whatever degree that they are capable of. So, I'm really glad about the collections and stuff that I did, because it helped vary my interest. And now all 5 of my boys have they have a real broad range, and they have stuff that they collect at all. But again, comes back to the digital, the convenience. And it's for them, they don't have, like Edward is going to have, he's going to have the physical drive in him because you have it. My physical drive right now is all of this. It's different from what my boys have, but they still have their ideas and their collections and stuff like that, and they're building off of it, but they don't have that level of, appreciation that like you did growing up, because the stuff was right there and it surrounded you. In this day and age where everything is more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's
oversaturated. I don't know.
No, I don't know. Basically, everything has become, more globally available in multiple formats. They don't have to have physical copies of something to have something. It's not, the shopping isn't local anymore. The being able to go to a comic shop is still there, but most of the time they're niche, unless you got a really big, really well-established comic book store or chain. You're going to go in, you're going to find a few comics, you're going to find a few toys, you're going to find graphic novels and posters, and half of the ones now are doing playing cards as a large chunk of their thing. So they don't go in looking for one specific thing. It becomes sensory overload.
Right.
So for them to find something that they want in all of that, because it kind of juggles them. So we didn't have that. Like when your dad and I were younger and stuff like that, we knew, because early on, because that's what we had. These are what we were like, okay, we can go out and we can just go to the store and we can get these things because it's there. And then we find what we like, we collect them, and it got passed on to you, it went on to your sister. You know, that's where the nostalgia comes in. You open up a book that's right there, you open up a gaming thing, you can go back and watch an old movie because it's still available. It's not always that way now because the availability, everything's become like a Walmart now, I guess would be a way to put it.
And everything, I mean, everything's kind of at a point right now where, like I said, everything is oversaturated. Now, there are things that is artificial scarcity, like, and that's one of the things about collecting is dealing with the fact that, you know, there's things that I want to collect and I can't because, you know, they're sold out. Like I collect the NECA TMNT animated turtles.
Right.
I can't always go to Target because Target's the only vendor that sells this stuff because NECA decides that, hey, Target's going to be for this. They're going to say that Walmart's going to be for the 90s turtles. And then the video game ones, you know, for Turtles in Time and all that are going to be for everywhere else. And it's like, why limit your possibilities of what you could do to just one store? Because you're making it hard for the collector to be able to get this stuff. But on top of that, you got the fact that, like, what about, like, David's son? You know, David's son. Hey, David may be showing his son, hey, I want to play. We're watching all this turtle stuff. And he's like, well, I like these NECA stuff. It's really cool. I want to get these. He's not gonna be able to find them.
He's gonna be able to find pictures.
Yeah, and it's like it creates this frustration. I mean, you know, that's the same thing with the GI Joe classified stuff.
Yes.
Luckily right now I have every release a figure for that except for the 3 exclusive for Target right now for the Python Patrol, and then the ones that are be coming out with the standard Bat, the Alley Viper. You got classic Storm Shadow, Spirit, and the Cobra Officer. I think there's one other figure. Oh, Crocmaster. And, you know, I'm gonna eventually get all those, but it's like, look, us as collectors want these things, so why don't you allow us to be able to put money down on it? You know, hey, look, have an open limit for like a couple of weeks of, hey, we're gonna have it to where you can buy this stuff, you can buy as many as you want, because it's guaranteed money for them. You know, why do you produce something that's only going to work for the secondary market or for, you know, third-party sellers? Because you're only going to get your initial sale. You're not going to get that money that you could have gotten had you mass-produced more and just sold it to people.
I mean, it kind of goes to, you know, like on the board game side, right, where you have companies that will come out with stuff, and now I've already talked before about my frustration sometimes with Kickstarter exclusive stuff, and it's like, it has to boil down to just a problem of warehousing, right? Like none of these people have infinite amounts of space to store all this crap, and they're always, especially like with figures and all that, right? They're constantly producing more over and over time. So it's like they, at some point, I guess they decided that they have to figure out that, okay, here's the cutoff where it stops being, you know, financially viable for us to maintain a certain amount of quantity for this and ship it and all that. And then beyond that, we need to start reinvesting the funds from this line to start working on the next line of whatever. Does that help anybody that misses out that chance? No, but it's like, it's just one of those things that you either eat it on the back end, or you just gotta, you know, stay as in the know as you possibly can about it, right? And it's just, it's just one of those frustrations, right? There's always going to be something that you're going to come across. You're going to be like, man, it would be awesome if I could get my hands on this thing, right? It's completely different from everything else I have, and it becomes that shining little beacon of a thing that you just want to get your hands on, and it's just always going to be that white whale in a way, right? And sometimes you might be able to get lucky and stumble on it and get your hands on it and get it for a decent price, and then other times that thing's just going to swallow you whole and drag you to the bottom of the ocean, right?
Sounds
Well,
like
it's-
Third Planet.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So it's funny because, you speak of Third Planet, TJ and all that stuff. And it's,
Yeah.
he was trying to be a distributor here in,
Oh, I know.
in Houston. And, he just has tons of product, but you'd go in there and it's like, man, that's all I want that. I want this. It's overly priced and he won't come down on it.
No,
Come on, man. It's like at
that's
some point you want to move the product. You don't want it just to collect dust on your shelves. And
no, that man has always been driven by the dollar.
yeah,
Always.
but I was trying to look for a game that I had when I worked at Game Crazy that I played through when I worked at Game Crazy back in the day. And I've been trying to find it, but I haven't been able to find a loose copy or complete copy of it. And I've been really wanting to play it. And it's like, yeah, I could emulate it. Yes. Okay. But I want to have it in my collection because it's part of a series of games that I very much enjoy. And it's Metal Gear Solid for the Game Boy Color. For some reason, this game is like going like $200 to $500, even for a loose cart. I'm like, are you kidding me? I remember like when I worked at Game Crazy, when I bought this, we had at least like 25 copies to sell. I mean, and you think of like the one store I worked at. So like I don't understand like some of the prices on stuff sometimes. Why is it so overly marked up? I get artificial inflation. I get that people sit on stuff. So that way they hope that it's going to be worth a lot of money later on. But it's like, okay.
There's a point when speculation just becomes hoarding.
Yes, exactly. Because I don't collect to resell.
Yeah.
If I pass and Anna and ever want to do something with my stuff, they're welcome to do whatever they want with it. They can keep it, they could sell it, whatever. But for right now, for me, it's a memory to my past and good times. And I'd rather have that than sitting looking at a blank wall with nothing on it. Which kind of, that whole thing, what Colin was saying was the fact that like growing up in my home, there was so much there that my dad had, like books wise. It was like, it's like walking into a library for the first time and you just see all these wonderful things. You're like, wow, what's this? Wow, there's a Batman comic there. He's in the future and he fights a digital Joker. There was just like all these different things. Oh, there's this anime, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, this is great. Cause like, I know that's how I became a very big John Carpenter fan, was because one year in the summer, I think I was 12, I was looking through my dad's VHS tapes and stuff because my dad had tons of VHS tapes and stuff he recorded, because it was hard to get VHS stuff at the time. And Big Trouble in Little China was on there. And I watched that movie and it blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, even though I'd probably seen it when I was younger. But like 12, I was like, it really like kind of defined like my love for cinema. And it's like every time I watch that movie and like The Thing, my love for John Carpenter was just there. But it just helped me really love cinema and film. It's what pushed me to want to become a director, even though life decided to take me in a different direction, because I want to tell stories. And it's like every time like his movies have come out on like DVD, VHS, I got them all on VHS. Eventually I got them all on DVD, I got them on Blu-ray, and I'm working to get them all on 4K, because I love his storytelling. I love the music, the
immersion.
You just feel like you're there in the realism for his stories, even though you're talking about an alien that affects every cell and can rip out and turn into different multiple creatures it copies. But
I mean of the two movies that you just threw out there, I think The Thing is slightly more believable than magical arts in the middle of, what was it, downtown New York.
No, that was It was California.
It was
That's right. That's
Chinatown,
right.
like San
California.
Francisco
San
Chinatown.
Francisco. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there
So-
you go. Yeah.
And on
So,
top of that, you know,
multiple
6
martial
foot
arts
tall
were-
maniac with light coming out of his mouth.
Yeah. Or I mean, and the craziest thing about it was you just had like random karate ninja fights in the middle of the streets. Just yeah,
Dude,
sure. I'm sure that that happens.
Your life would be so great if you were walking to work and like everybody just started busting out with kung fu moves. I mean, come on.
Reminds me of what was
Everybody
it?
be a director then.
Shaolin Soccer, the very end of Shaolin Soccer,
Yeah.
right? Where everyone's learned kung fu, and so they're all doing their jobs via
Via
various
kung fu, yeah.
moves. Like the dude who's cutting the hedges with his sword and all that crap. Yeah, that's real.
But yeah, that's one of those things that got me into like even just to film collecting. You know, it branched me into just a lot of different genres, from horror to, I mean, everything. And then, you know, for me, anime was a big thing. So I have a big anime collection. I don't even know where I have room for any of this stuff. My dad asks me this all the time. Where do you have room for this stuff? For my mother-in-law.
I mean, your dad's wanted to talk. His house was a museum always.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Yeah. Any aspect of my friends that at any age, you can ask them. It was like walking into a museum with my dad.
There was definitely crap stacked on top of crap, stacked on top of crap. You just kind of walk over, you start filtering through, and you're like, oh, that's kind of a weird looking movie. Let's watch it.
Yeah, definitely. But so how do you think your collection has affected your children?
Well, they don't know it yet, but they don't have a college fund now. So you better be hitting those scholarships because Daddy needed that copy of Zombicide Marvel Zombies. I'm sorry. No, I mean, again, it goes back to just kind of wanting to find things to interact with, with your kids on, right? Again, like growing up playing card games all the time, it's kind of hard to explain spades to like a 5-year-old. I mean, you can. It's just kind of a hard concept sometimes to get their mind around. And so I went out and I found just looking through kids games, like, I played all the classic ones growing up, like Monopoly and Candyland and stuff like that. But once I got older, like Candyland, whenever the few times that we have played it in my house since I've become an adult, we don't play it like back in the day where each person draws their little bitty card and they move like their space. No. One person's drawing cards, all the other people have their hands on their pieces, and you just sit there and go, all right, here we go. Green, blue, double blue. And you just start going, and it's like speed racing through Candyland, right? But because of that, it was like I was always trying to find like an interesting game, because like one of the board games that always stuck out to me whenever I was a kid was a game, and we've looked this up like 3 times, and I can never remember the name of this stupid game. But it was I want to say it was like crossbows and catapults or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And we've talked about this before a lot.
You would set up the little castle, right? You have like the little men around, and the castle had a little catapult on the top of it. You had a standalone catapult and then a ballista. And the whole concept of it was you had to knock over all the other person's little soldiers, right? And it was such a cool little game that stood out from the soul-crushing hatred that Monopoly inspired and stuff like that. So I went out and I found Castle Panic, which is a fun little, just basically a tower defense game that you play with cards between the two. But what became even more of it was playing with my son. It kind of started helping me. It gave me a teachable moment to him to show him like basic arithmetic. It was like, okay, this guy has 3 health. You do 2 damage. How much health is he left over? Oh, he's got 1. At the very end, you would count up all the little tokens. Okay, let's count up all your tokens. How many do you have? How many do I have? What's the difference? It was like I took those moments to turn it into teachable items. And then as he grew older, because I can be a little bit of a rules Nazi, with my games, he would go over to like my parents' house, and they didn't have any of the board games that I had, so he would want to take the toys that were over there and create a game out of them. But he created rules for the game that everyone had to follow. And so it was just kind of funny to see as he grew, right? He started kind of wanting to apply that same mindset of, okay, these are the rules for the game, and now I'm going to make a new game, and these are the rules for the game. And it just kind of moved along like that, right? My daughter has not really taken much to those various, all the various things I have. There's still games and things that she'll play. There's movies and things that she enjoys, but she's off on her own little world doing her own little thing. She's all into art and stuff that her mother's into, and that works. That's her thing, and we still have our little points of intersection that we come to. But yeah, that's more or less where I've seen the majority of that kind of working in my children's lives, is just creating those teachable moments out of those games that we played.
Cool. For me, it's like a portal. When my kids see the stuff that I could collect and the stuff that I have packed away, it's like a portal into, hey, what, I now know this about my dad. I know that these things interest my dad, and stuff like that. And some of it will interest them to seek that kind of stuff out themselves, or they'll say, okay, that's cool, but that's not what I'm into. I'm into this now. It'll, it kind of, it's like looking at a window. Okay, do I want to window shop this, or do I want to just go over here and see what this window has? But at least it offers them perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them a little bit of history so that they know, it gives them the ideas. Well, okay, what am I going to like? What am I going to be into? What are my collections going to be? So.
Yeah. And for Edward, I think he's still a little too young. He's more on like Genevieve's path as far as right now, because he's still too young. I mean, we've bought him like Paw Patrol stuff. He was into that, and he just stopped liking that. And then, not that he didn't stop liking it, just wasn't like, he was found other things to enjoy.
Yeah,
he just kind of grew out of it. Yeah, so
that'll happen. And that's his brain going, okay, I like this, I can focus on this. And as he grows and matures and develops, it'll be this one, and it'll be that one, and eventually it'll be like you found your calling, your thing, and then you ran with it, and eventually he will do that too.
Yeah.
And going back to what David said about card games, it can be fun, but nothing scares a 5-year-old like slam it down. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Oh no. My son, he gets, and that's one of the things where like games specifically, right, comes in with me, is me and my brother have a horrific competitive streak between the two of us.
Oh no.
It is just nonstop of just, and that's why I say that Monopoly it just generates incredible hatred, because we would play Monopoly and it would not matter. I could own literally the entire board, and he would just have those last two spaces, right? Park Place and what's the other one? Huh?
Broadway.
Yes. And he would just own those last two, and he would just somehow scrape together money to just like stack hotels on that till he had like Bowser's Castle just built up at the end of the Monopoly board. And he was down like his last dollar, and I would roll, and somehow I would land. I could be on the other side of the board. It wouldn't matter. I would land on a thing. It's like, draw a card, go to Park Place. It's like, no, I don't want to go to Park Place. And I'd land on it. It's like, all right, how much do I owe you? And he would just flip to the back of the card and be like, everything. Like, no, seriously, how much do I owe you? And he's like, no, that's literally what the card says. I've got 30 hotels built up on these two, and the card just says you owe me everything now. And I'm like, this game, and just throw it. And so that's where a lot of that comes from. And my son has definitely picked that up quite a bit. He's starting to find the things that he can beat me at now, right? It's the little games that we get into, and he's like, oh hey, like I played this and I can beat him. And whenever he was younger and he would beat me at something, he would want to immediately play it again. But then I would beat him and he would just give up on it. It's like, oh no, my time is over. And now he's finally getting to the point where he understands. It's like, no, it's about adjustments. It's like, okay, yeah, all right, cool, buddy, you beat me this time, but let's do this again and let's see if you can do it again. And fix your strategies to see as I try to maneuver around you and make this work. And so yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Edward does that. The whole thing with the cards with so I picked up the Legend of Zelda Uno set for Christmas.
Cool.
And so we were playing that and he just like, come on, mommy, we're gonna play. And he's just trying to beat Anna. And he just schemes and stuff, or he'll do it to me. And it's like, but it's like usually I come up on top. Because it's like I bought Othello for him, or for us to play, and Cathedral. And I was teaching him how to play that, and he enjoys those. And I'm slowly teaching him how to play Pokemon. It's gonna take him a little bit because he's gotta become a better reader for him to be able to play that effectively. But it's funny because for him, we've been getting the Lego Minecraft sets and stuff, and so he'll build them, or he'll try to have us help him build them. And he's trying to put them on a shelf, like Daddy has his stuff on a shelf. But then when his friend comes over and they want to play with it, and it just kind of falls apart, and it's like, bud, this is one of those things where it's like you gotta think about what you want to do. Do you want to have it as a display piece, or you don't want to play with it? So you're just gonna have to take the time to rebuild it. But he got a kick out of the other day when I put one of my Turtles posters that I had from back in the day, like when I was like 10, on his wall. And I'm gonna slowly start putting a lot of my old posters up there for him. He's like, this is so awesome. He went and ran in there to talk to Anna and said, hey, mommy, look at this. Look what Daddy did. And took him and he's like, this is really cool. But I got this giant cloth tapestry Godzilla versus Kong I need to put on his wall. I'm going to put behind his TV. Just haven't had time to do it. I need to do it. I'm probably when I get home tomorrow, I'll go ahead and put it up there for him. But it was so funny because he got a kick out of like how my computer's set up over here with all my stuff on the wall. He's like, he started putting his figures up on like different places, trying to mimic me. He went and grabbed tape and was taping figures to the wall and like different like stickers and posters to the wall, his artwork. I'm like, Daddy. Yeah. So it made me feel proud.
Your work isn't quite done, but you're there.
You're getting there. You're getting there, bud. But
There you go.
yeah. No, so like for me, one of the things like I collect, is I love Star Wars, of course. And I think Star Wars was the first real thing I collected for personally. Like, I know there was things I liked growing up, but like Star Wars was one of those ones that like when the Power of the Force 95 figures started coming out, I got a bunch of those for my birthday. I got the Millennium Falcon, Luke's X-Wing, and the TIE Fighter for Christmas. And I started really collecting Star Wars. I got my uncle Gene and Uncle Mike got me the original movies on VHS, and then I was like getting posters and comics and stuff. And so like Lego, like I like Legos. I've always enjoyed Legos, but for me, Star Wars is why I get, for Legos I get Star Wars because I get these ships and everything. So I got the Millennium Falcon or the X. But it's like, to me, it's my models. My dad had his models where he would put plastic together and spray paint them and everything and light them up and glue them together and then hang them from the ceiling. It was funny because he had a was it the Enterprise A from the motion picture that had been broken so many times. He decided to cannibalize it and make it the battle damaged one from 2, the Wrath of Khan. Anyway, yeah. So sometimes you just got to roll with the punches with stuff when things just don't go right, and customize it to something else you want. But no, because it's funny because like I have in the living room, I have like one of my shelves, and I have a couple of I have the AT-AT and the Y-Wing on there, the shuttle Tidarium or the Imperial shuttle. Was it Yoda's hut, and then this, and I had this one of the like the faces, you know, the that you build with the Legos. So I had the Stormtrooper face or helmet, and my cat decided to jump on my arcade one up to that shelf, and I hear smash, and I'm like, no, and I run in there, and I'm trying to get him, and then there goes my AT-AT just going. Like, you know, Luke came in with the tow cable and just kind of wrapped around it and fell over and just went into a million pieces.
Yeah,
I love you, Furball. I love you.
Yeah, I had a well, I don't have it up anymore because I got to go fix it. But I had the heavy arms model that I had set up like over here for a while, and I left the door open one day, came in, and it was just all over the floor. I'm like, okay, so I put it up on top of a different bookcase that I didn't think the cats could get to, and there was nothing else up there, so there's no reason for them to go up there, except now there was a thing up there, so they went up there and they knocked it off a taller bookcase and broke it even more. And so I'm like, now I gotta go fix this. Why? But it's funny, like when it comes to figures, I very distinctly remember the point at which I decided I was never going to really get heavy into figures, and that was because whenever I was young, I played a lot of Mega Man X, and I watched the old Mega Man cartoon, right? So I remembered seeing a figure of Gutsman, and he like had a little thing where looking back on it now, I should have known, but the toy was basically just a little thing where you would like push a little lever on his back and he could throw this like oil drum back behind him. And I remember going and buying that and opening it up and then messing with it and realizing I'm like, wait, this is literally like this is all the functionality he has. He just got like one arm that does this. Like this garbage. No. Threw it away, never looked back. And then the only thing I've really ever gotten since then has been like the Gundam series, because there's all that modularization that you can do to them that I like, and plus heavy arms just looks cool. But it's like, yeah, that was one route that I never really went down. Mine, the first one that I started out with really was movies, because it was just growing up, always hearing people talking about various movies and things that I just didn't get to see in theaters. And it was like, okay, I would walk through Best Buy and be like, oh, I remember that movie, so and so told me about it, I need to buy that, and it just went through until suddenly I just had this collection of movies that's just perpetually continued forever since then, and it's still not stopping. In fact, I've got a stack of Blu-rays sitting right over there. I need to do the great organizing again, because I replaced my DVDs of Batman the Animated Series with the Blu-ray over here, and I just need to rearrange everything and re-put everything back in its slots so that my brain can know, yes, I still have everything accounted for and I'm not missing anything, and everything's in its place and in order, and all is right in the universe.
Yeah, I'm still working on that. I was going through my list of stuff, and I'm like, so I just got most of my like PlayStation, Switch, well, PS4, PS5, Switch, Xbox, PS3, and a few other things on one shelf. And I was counting that. I was like, holy crap. So I've been starting to count my games. And yeah, I told James how many games I have. He's like, man, that's a lot of games. I said, yeah, I don't even know what I'm doing with all this stuff. You know, I've played most of the stuff I have. There's a couple of things that, like some of the new stuff, I just haven't had time to get to. And, you know, a lot of it's Edward's going to enjoy for years, decades, to be able to play later on in life.
Yeah.
And then he won't have to worry about buying them because they'll be here, and he can just, hey, Dad, I'm gonna borrow your rental. I'm gonna rent this from you.
Yeah.
I'll turn my house into a Blockbuster.
Yeah, Dad Buster.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could do that, man. Especially when it comes to movies. I still need to sit down one of these days. I keep telling myself I'm going to do this, and I'm never going to, but I need to. Is setting it up to where I can have my own personal cloud system at home that I can just burn all of these movies into, because if a movie is damaged and I find out that it's damaged, I have to replace it. It becomes just this nagging thing in the back of my brain where I'm just like, I know that movie doesn't play and I need to go replace it for one that does function. Like I bought the Peanuts movie and we watched it like twice with the kids, and then somebody took it out of the player wrong one day and it got a scratch in it. And then 3/4 of the way through the movie, 20 minutes of the movie just disappears. I'm like, no. Okay, well, all right, we just recently watched this. So I don't need to rebuy it. And then all of a sudden there's an Amazon package on my front doorstep and it's a replacement Peanuts movie because I have to. I have to. I can't. I need to cut down on that. So the only way I can really do that is by digitizing all this crap at my house, because at that point I own it, right? I'm not like giving it out to anybody just for the sake of
you're allowed to do that.
To stream
Yeah,
it.
you are. As long as you own the original copy, you're allowed to do that.
You're allowed to do one preservation copy. And that's the neat thing about the DVD packages now and the Blu-ray, where you get the all-in-one thing. It comes with that free digital copy, so you don't have to go through that trouble.
Yeah,
you're allowed to build your collection.
Yeah,
but
by law, the Fair Use Act says you can make one copy for preservation for yourself.
And so that whole thing too, I was making a joke about this when I was talking to one of the guys in one of the other Discords I'm in, and he wants to talk about a topic about NFTs, and that's a whole thing. But and I made a joke about like, yeah, that's all fine and great to have these digital items, like these limited edition items, until like Snake Plissken decides to enter the world code and like kill all electricity. We're like one step away from like the sun just sitting out a solar flare to like completely wipe out all electronics and everything. And it's like, oh yeah, we're going to completely digital. We're not going to like infrastructure, create things that are going to shield us from these waves, or, someone deciding to shoot a nuke in the air and it does an EMP that just takes up everything.
Yeah. That's when I would say, all right, boys, pick an acoustic instrument. There's several on the wall.
Yeah, we're going to become travel musicians. Back to the days of being a bard.
In our case, it would be minstrels.
You can tell the story that you made up about Luke Skywalker. That was entirely your invention, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
you just once no one can disprove that you're not the one that came up with it, you're just the one who goes around telling, let me tell you this story.
I just recently watched that movie not too long ago. Random Fire.
Oh, Random Fire?
Yeah, remember that was the movie where they're sitting there, they do the whole Star Wars skit. And he's all like, did you make that up? Yeah, I totally made that up. That's my story.
Yeah, I saw a funny meme the other day that I got reminded of when David was talking about Monopoly. Mm-hmm. Basically, that it starts off, I got shanked in jail. My family takes Monopoly very seriously.
Man, I just lots of bad memories with that game. So many bad memories with that game. It's like I've played all kinds of stuff as a kid. I played Battleship. I played Stratego. Yes. I played all those things where it was competitive, but nothing brewed. We played dominoes. Again, we played spades. We played all kinds of games, but the one that was guaranteed to send my grandfather to the garage to smoke, that would cause me to just like someone's just going to flip a table at some point, was always Monopoly. Just I don't know if it's just because that game takes so damn long. They're like,
because it's the first part of the game is just collecting everything.
We're 4 hours in and no one is closer to winning this stupid ass game. What's happening? And then you start to build up. It's like, it really is a good game that shows you, it's a better game about life than life, because it's like you're building up all this hope and joy, and you're like, I'm gonna make it, and then you land on the wrong spot and it all comes crushing down, and you're like, I've lost
So-
everything. Now I'm in depression, and this is bullshit. Now I'm in jail. What's going on? No.
So Monopoly is basically a better life simulator than the actual game of life, considering the fact that it's like,
Yes.
man, everything's going great in my life. I got a good paying job. I have a house, and then you just can't pay the rent, and it's all gone.
That's right. All Monopoly needs to add is mortgage payments, kids, and and significant others. And then you could just draw a card where it's like you just had a divorce and now you need to give up half your assets, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What?
If your wife is playing right now, you got to give half your assets to her.
That's right.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you gotta play.
we're coming up with our own version of Monopoly right now.
No.
It's actually almost accurate.
I refuse. If somebody makes that version of Monopoly, I hate you because I'm never playing it.
You
God.
are killing me. You got to work that into the title. Soul crushing and life stealing, how Monopoly shaped our collection.
There you go. Because that's what Monopoly is, man. And I know people that's like we have a friend, and it's like that's her favorite board game. I'm just like, I don't know how. You must win all the time or something. Because no, you play a game for 5 hours and it's still not over, and there's no end in sight. And grandma is just like over there clawing at her arms, just wanting to go. It's bad.
Grandma's
It's
getting
awful.
sick over there.
That's right.
She might start crawling on the walls.
Dude, that's right.
Grandma's baking pies just to throw them at
It's bad, man.
you. Putting
Never-
laxatives and brownies. Here you go, sweetie.
That's right. Just to run you all off, man.
Yeah, have to stop the game.
This will stop everything for sure.
So, honey, I heard that you used to have a really close family and stuff. What happened? We don't even get together for Christmas. Well, we don't talk about.
We don't
talk about that at all.
We don't talk about those dark times.
Well, you see, Uncle Todd brought over
Last Saturday.
Uncle Todd brought over a new version of Monopoly he found, and we started a game. And after 26 straight hours, well, we just don't want to talk about it. We'll leave it at that.
And little Tommy is still stuck in jail because we never finished the game.
That's right.
It's like Jumanji.
It's like the thought of Park Place makes you start twitching.
Oh man.
Yeah, anytime you're driving down 45 and you hit Broadway, you're like,
Your eye twitches and your car starts going off the road.
if it'd be hilarious though if like we go and look at the history of like Houston and stuff, and that there's major accidents right there at 45 and Broadway.
Okay, yeah.
And it's just because the fact that these people have problems with our trauma because they're playing Monopoly.
That's right. Everybody just has Monopoly PTSD. That's what it is.
That's why Broadway is shut down. It's not COVID.
Yeah,
It's Monopoly.
Yeah, it's not COVID. It's not road work. There's no road work over there. It's completely
No. It's just Monopoly PTSD.
yeah.
Damn
about right.
man.
All right, so if someone can like do a search in the whole world where everywhere that there's a Broadway and see if they're like how many accidents are created there at different locations, there's gotta
That
be
would be
goal.
awesome.
Yeah, does that just have a higher rate? It's awful.
Uh,
Yeah.
this is
Any
This is
therapists out there?
this is definitely funny moments number 4 right here.
There you go. You know, that's actually a really good thing. I would love to hear if there is legitimately some therapist out there that is like, look, I can't divulge details, but I have many patients that all they do is come in and all they talk about is that one night where their family sat down to try to
Played
play
Monopoly.
Monopoly. That's right.
Well, I mean,
Game.
the closest
I
I
know.
ever have to that is like anytime we ever played the TSR Star Wars games, is that
Oh,
Dad and Mark would be like all like complaining about the rules. It's like,
Marvel superheroes too.
yeah,
Oh,
we were like, yeah, we went to the
We were gonna
store.
kill each other.
We went to Ryan's to eat, so we had a full stomach before we play. Then we went over to Kroger's and got a bunch of snacks and everything. We're ready to game. We're literally get to the house and everybody's sitting out, and then
Table is set.
somebody's either Dad's role playing or Mark's role playing. I mean, who's DMing, and it's like we start playing, somebody does something wrong, game over. Because then you spend 4 hours sitting there of them arguing with their books, going, "No, the rules here like this," and it's like
I
feel
rolled
like
to open door. You can't roll the open door. Yes, I can roll the open door. It says right here I can roll the open door.
I
No,
feel
but
like-
this type of door. You can't roll to open this type of door.
it's like, you're sitting there like with a bag of pork rinds, and like Donnie and Michelangelo going, pork rind, as as Raph and Leo were fighting over there.
It's like trying to skill roll who's on first.
Oh man,
Can you picture that? Abbott and Costello with the
rolling,
dice.
rolling who's to figure out who's there. Oh jeez.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have gone off the rails.
And I'm sure that y'all, there's people out there who may be listening to this that have known these kind of types of situations with role playing, or Monopoly, bad Monopoly nights.
I mean, who knows? There might be someone out there who just has vicious games of Candyland. I mean, that's very possible. I'm sure that there's someone who's been stabbed in the hand playing Chinese checkers somehow.
Or
I mean,
someone died during Clue, and the officers are like, "Well, I guess it was best friend with a knife or with the
Best friend with the bread knife in the kitchen.
That's right. Yeah, we started off as a game of Clue and ended with a game of Clue.
yeah, we're gonna game of Clue."
Yeah. I would love to see an updated version of the Game of Life, because in the past 40 years, we've had spouses try to hire hitmen, and there's none of that in there.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing there. There's no love triangles. There's no take them out in the desert. There's none of that.
So you want the hardcore Game of Life?
That's right. You're gonna play the Game of Life. You're gonna play the Game of Life. Damn it. Let me tell you.
You become addicted to hardcore drugs, and you
That's
can't do anything
right.
about it.
That's right. There's no jail.
I'm gonna draw this card, and I now have a crippling meth addiction. Huh.
Oh,
All right,
damn.
then.
Wait, it says I'm supposed to go to Seattle and find prostitutes. What?
It's the Grand Theft Auto edition of life.
Here's a mashup.
There you go. Yeah.
You know what? That would be an awesome like card game or board game. Grand Theft Auto, where you had a giant wheel, or the little poppy thingy, like in the what's that game there with the bubble popper there?
Oh, Trouble.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Or sorry. Yeah, sorry.
The little dice say jail. That would be a great mashup game.
You
It's funny
you steal the car, you steal the wife.
It's funny because the more I think about it, there was actually a version of Monopoly that got made like a long time back. I think it's still around. I don't remember, but they applied a Cthulhu pastiche to it, and it was called Doom. The Doom that came to Atlantic City, I think is the name of it. I never played it, but because again, I just saw it.
Now that sounds like fun.
Immediately, I started just thinking, yeah, maybe one day, but it was. I don't know. Maybe sometime when I'm like 80 and I'm 50 years removed from the last time I played Monopoly, maybe then I'll finally be able to revisit something about it. But
so I could see it. Monopoly as Cthulhu. You're getting the elder signs to summon Cthulhu.
Oh, what if you mixed a Ouija board with Monopoly?
oh Lord.
No, because then you're gonna summon back your old grandma who's pissed at you for the fact that she had a heart attack the last time you played the game.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with that.
Man, we completely gone off the rails here. I don't think
one
I don't think
one
I'm
of the
gonna-
cards. One of the
I'm not
cards
even
flipped
editing
over.
this.
It's recipe for laxative brownies.
Oh man, I'm not editing this. I'm gonna take out the part at the beginning and then just
There you go.
just roll with it because this is too funny.
Yeah, it's of all the things when it comes to collecting, the one thing that I guess y'all kind of touched on, I'm always kind of curious about is, you know, when you do move to that next step, right, and you're gone and your kids come to the point of inheritance or someone else, right? Because like it was right before the holidays. I had one of the most nihilistic conversations I think I've ever had with a coworker, and he didn't mean it to be that way, but it definitely came off that way where we were talking and somehow the conversation came up about camera phones, and I found out that he was a photographer and was all into photography, and then somehow it devolved into him talking about how his kids don't really care about his photography hobby, and how he was telling me the story about how he went out trying to find those little slideshow, the little rotating things you just
yeah.
put the slides into, right? It runs through. And he went to an estate sale and found like this just stack of multiples of them with all these slides. And he started going through them, and there were all these like amazing pictures of like flora and fauna and all this. And his main thing was like architecture. So it wasn't necessarily his thing, but he could still appreciate it. And he went and he was asking the people that were part of the estate sale, he's like, hey, how much do you want for this equipment? And like, they said, oh, and they threw out like some paltry amount, right? Like almost nothing. And he's like, oh, okay, well, and they're like, oh yeah, and by the way, you can just have like all of these slides too. Right. And he's like, well, but are you sure? And so they literally just like this massive hobby, right, that this person had their whole life, and they just were like, yeah, we don't want it. Here you go. Here, you random person, you just take it and run away with it. And I was like, wow, thanks for telling me the story right before the holidays, because it's very spiritually uplifting. But man, that was just like crushing to think that, yeah, they just, someone that poured a whole bunch of time and money and effort and thought and all this into all these little artistic things, and then at the end of the day, it just winds up in a yard sale that then goes off to someone else's house, right? It's like,
Right.
you kind of hope that kids will pick up into it and maybe take on some of it, but I have absolutely no, misunderstanding that at some point, all this crap behind me is probably going to be in a landfill at some point. But what are you going to do, right?
See, I think about that with the whole studio thing. None of my kids are into music. So when my time comes, the way I try and think about it is maybe this will go to somebody else who has that interest.
Mm-hmm.
That like your friend there, from your coworker, he had a love for that stuff. He's going to be able to carry that on, and maybe through that other person, through him, somebody else will pick up that interest. Because I'm thinking, okay, this a lot of this could get piecemealed out, or the kids may take the computers or something like that, or keep one or two of the guitars because I've had a couple of them over 30 years. But other than that, if somebody comes along, at some place, like at a sale or something, oh, I like that guitar, and they learn to play guitar with it, somewhere I think I'd be a piece with that.
Yeah, you're living on through your item.
Yes.
And passing on that love of music and stuff. It's the same thing, for me. It's like, a lot since I hit 40, I've had a lot of those like moments of, oh no, I have like 20,
mortality.
Yeah, mortality is like really hitting me.
Wait till you get 50.
Yeah. And it's but I thought about like my stuff. It's like, I figure, if something were to happen to me, Anna could talk to Josh, Big Josh, and then I don't know why I said Big Josh. We don't even have another Josh in our lives right now, so just Josh. Sorry, brother.
Big Josh.
But Josh could help her get my stuff sold. Whatever they want to keep, my friends can come and get stuff. Anybody who wants to grab stuff that knows me can grab the stuff, because this is a part of me.
Right.
But my buddy Rob would help out with selling this stuff to help Anna Edward. Of course, I have coverage and things through my work and everything, so it's not like they wouldn't have to worry about trying to bury me, anything like that. But I've thought about it. I mean, it scares the shit out of me. But you know, it's just whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
they can do whatever they want with it, and I'd hope that Edward wanted to keep the things that mean the most to him, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to give that time with him to have that time with him to have him develop and learn those appreciation for those things, and to think
Exactly.
about like what this is. It represents my daddy. It's like, for me, I have my great grandfather's my great grandfather's World War II knife.
Oh, that's cool.
It's put away in a container, but I have all of my memories of him. It's like that's just an item, but it's like I have it. I have my grandfather's table, Billy. And then what else? I have unfortunately, I have the items that my grandparents got me, but I don't have like material things that were my grandmother and my grandfather's from my dad's, not from my dad's side, but my mom's side.
Yeah.
Well,
There's at least pictures.
I have those pictures and they can't be taken away. They can't delete my those memories I have of my grandparents from Facebook like they did my grandmother's page.
Yeah.
And I'm a little still upset about that. It bothers me that like I wasn't able to get the barbecue pit that my grandfather made by himself with a welder, so I could take care of it. Who knows where it's at now? And it's just like I don't want Edward to have to worry about that. If there's things that he wants or my nephew or my niece want that is me, they can have it. I don't want someone to be a gatekeeper for the love or these things that people may cherish, for their memories of the person they're with. Actually, it's funny. I find it. It's on my desk here somewhere. Yeah. I need to clean it up because it was given to me like this, but this was sitting by my grandmother's bed, no other picture, it's a picture of me and my sister back when we were younger in high school, or just after high school.
You might want to scan that in.
So yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit, but that speaks volumes. It shows that how much my grandparents loved me and my sister.
Right.
That the only photo she had by her bed was of us. She was always there for us. And my dad, my sister, and me. So and that's what I want to be able to do for my family is, I want to be there for them because that's what this is all about. I love collecting. It brings me closer to my memories of things that I grew up with. All the times that I could look at a video game and I can remember when I got it, what I was doing, and the people who were with me. I could do that with toys. I can look at this and my Donatello figure here from NECA and be like, hey, I remember sitting down at the apartment at Brandywood when the cartoon first came on with my dad and we recorded it and loving the hell out of that show. I still have those memories for now anyway. I mean, I could end up with dementia or something if totally forget, you never know. But it's collecting's fun for me. It's one of those things that I enjoy. I try not to go too overboard. I try to make sure that all of our bills are paid and stuff like that. So that way,
there's a balance.
There's a balance because you can get overwhelmed or wrapped up in all of this stuff and forget about your responsibilities. You can forget about what's important in your life. And you should never let collecting be something that
shouldn't ever become an addiction, right? At least
yeah,
not
exactly.
That's what I was
not to a
saying.
point where it's
It can be an
detrimental.
addiction.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anything can become addicting, right? In terms of the behavior,
Absolutely.
because I basically all that we're talking about is we collect because we get that endorphin rush from being able to get a hold of that thing, either because of the nostalgia value it has for it, either because it's just that a thing that we've been pining after, and now we have it, and you get that rush of it, right? Anytime you have anything that creates that reaction in you, it can become addicting. It's just making sure, like everything else, right? Everyone can have an addictive personality for anything, right? Just because you're not addicted to drugs doesn't mean you can't become addicted to anything else. And that's one of the jokes that I make to a bunch of friends of mine, right? They're all into talking about like different types of cars and boats, and I know a bunch of people that go hunting, and they go out and they buy a bunch of different types of guns to be able to go hunting and do this and do that, and a bunch of them go drinking all the time. And I always like to tell them, like, I have a different set of vices that I play into, and that's this crap. It's like I don't go out to bars every weekend, because in the back of my mind I'm like, well, that's money if I just save onto it. There's that movie that's coming out in a couple of weeks that I really want to get my hands on. There's that board game I've been eyeing for a while that, I missed the Kickstarter on, but it's up on eBay right now, and it's a little bit overpriced, but it's not completely, out of the realm of possibility. So if I just save up this little bit, then I can go and get that, all that good stuff, right? It's just kind of where do you put your money for the sake of your entertainment? And that's what it really comes down to, in at least sense for me, right?
Right.
I mean, we all collect. It doesn't matter what it is. Some people collect Coke memorabilia. Some people collect, food for apocalypse reasons. But we all collect for different things, cars, whatever. And for me, it's fun to do this stuff because sometimes I may not get to hang out with my friends, especially right now with everything going on. It's
Yeah.
hard to get my friends over for us to game and have a good time like we always would do. And it was good earlier last week for me, Adrian, and my buddy Gabriel to play Tekken online. It felt really good, because it's like normally we would have gathered here or at somebody else's house and played this stuff. And at least I can look at the things I have. I can contact my friends. I can give them a call, but it's totally different, like having them here.
Yes.
Going to go to lunch with them, or I know a lot of people are wrapped up in different politics things and other things like that, and we'll never discuss those things on this podcast. I want this to be fun and enjoyable for people to listen to. We all got problems. We're all dealing with the same garbage. If we can provide something that's entertaining and enjoyable, we'll continue to do that. But it's hard, because you go to work, you come home, and you got your family and stuff you're taking care of, and that's all great and everything. But sometimes you want a little bit more, and hang out with your friends, doing things like that. You want to go out to go find something. Sometimes the joy in collecting is finding those items. I can go on Amazon, I can go on eBay, I can make deals on Facebook and stuff to find things I'm looking for. But sometimes it's fun to find things in the wild. But collecting has just been a part of my life.
All of your life.
All of my life. I didn't know anything other. I've gained tons of friends because of my collection. I don't know how many times I have friends come over and be like, "Oh my gosh, it's amazing over here." Not my house. I mean, my house growing up, not like they still do it now sometimes when they can come over.
Yeah.
But back then it was like you first walked in, you got like all these posters and stuff that my dad had on the walls, or models and figures and movies, and it was just like a welcoming space for people, like-minded individuals, to hang out and get away from the world.
Yes, your dad is amazing about that. His house, his place was always a good gathering place.
Yeah.
And
And
if you think about it, that started one of the best collections all of us have had, the family and friends,
yep. Hmm.
you know, and we influenced each other. We, we fought like cats and dogs sometimes, but well, that's what family does. But
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
probably one of the best collections are those memories and those times and those lifelong family and friends that we have from it.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I mean, you and your dad and your sister, you're not blood, but you're still my family. Most of my life, you guys have been a part of it in some way. And I always call your dad my brother, and you're my nephew, and Ember's my niece, and that's never going to change. You guys are in my family archives with pictures and stuff like that, and it's all listed in there, just like you were blood family, and that's because of all those times.
Yeah,
We got so.
and and we get new members of that family all the time. I mean, David,
Absolutely.
When you started hanging out and stuff with my sister and everything coming over, back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, so it's just expanded, ever since. And sometimes people move on and do different things, and they they kind of lose contact. But if they were to just come back by or call, we could pick up right where we left off.
Yes.
There's no grudge, nothing of that stuff. But yeah, y'all want to say anything else about anything about collecting real quick before we kind of wrap up?
No, I think we had a good one tonight.
So everyone, we hope you enjoy this episode of the podcast. Tell us what, why you collect, what are your joys about it, or what brings you joy? Do you have a holy grail that you're looking for, that you're trying to get a hold of?
Yeah.
What are some of the joys that collecting has brought for, other things, like, did you make friends? Did you find a love? Did you, have a really good bonding moment with your child, or maybe someone in need?
And what's your monopoly?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What's your
What
monopoly?
is your monopoly? Is it monopoly or is it something else?
One game that just everyone in your family y'all just know.
Persona
hey,
non
why don't
grata.
we play that? No, we don't. I haven't taken my blood pressure medicine today. I can't.
Yeah. So what's your monopoly? But until then, guys, have a good one. We'll catch you later.